one whole nation into an official 3-day national mourning. The streets from the accident scene were littered with bodies, while some were found in drains, taking authorities weeks to clear the remnants of the disaster. What many Ghanaians have termed Black Wednesday still has imprints of sadness and sorrow in the minds of many. Some victims who commemorated the day today shared some memories.
Ebusuya ewo fie ho no ye nyina abegu porch no na ehu se nkrofo nso dwane fa wo ne so ba ye fie ho enti bra ye tietia mu nkrofo nso de nkrofo ko kwansin na mpapa tia mu eja eba o na ehu ya se eja na cover efie no
tia filita dia tia ne se eja eba o ye dia no ato ha no se ehyi menimu sa ehyi menimu a enti fuo tanka na blast ye no. The other side.
They also registered their displeasure on they are yet to receive compensations from government.
But send you can say I'm buying DNA that in the Mensan can be here. Minyam will be in Fibio, be high dying. Even Crono, a Juma some year, they made that time or swing a chin 1990. I say, being here more, oh baby Crono, a name in Kuala in school. Minyam more in feet, penny phobia to be a more beer. It's a human here. Me ko drugstore se me ko to dro mo ma me just hospital but scar be ko hospital so no e yedin nti ye hiamoa se aban be hunyem bo na nkran amansan bi beti na hu no be me mo na e da hwe apomodi ni bebia di me di meti beto
mo sa kasika ye tete Ghana the whole afini nyina hia ye na victim for ye ho kire no e ye tete Ghana e na omo de ama me omo ma me bi obi omo ama ni bi wo ho anka o meyi sika ne de nkire na mu nyina mu so oba ye obi de ne de abegina mo wo hu me bua kase me bua obi ameyi tete Ghana menu ya mo na mo boa ye mo na mo de asem no ebo hu da wuro de aye de akọ enti mo nkoka ne sa na mo koka ne fofra different ne de eba oba ye na o kire me no wani tua uhunu ye me boa enti tete Ghana the whole year no MC ni begina ho no o se aban na ma ye mpatasika the whole year eya afimu ni na tete Ghana obi free north ne bae obi free central region ne bae obi free Ashanti region obi free Bono and a free western region.
Say, I'm a disradia, mede to a bang, and an impenny for any say. Almost say a bo, I was 37 years, Sabia say, ye fear ashano. Yame boane a bar, on Beshe baby, Mayada. And fiancé any, young hoshe. It's my disradia says, said dining no more messy my a busia near Tissafianum, almond pebble be my Nayentana.
And I took the letter I have from the house to this place, expecting the government to say something for us at the end to give us the city. I don't know what to say again. So let it go.
So these are victims of the June 3 disaster, expressing their displeasure on what government has given to them so far. From them, it's been a year from 2020 to 2021. And then today, as they commemorate their 6th year, the only thing that was given to them is 30 Ghana cedis. Shadrach Ijare, Metro News.
After barely 3 months since Oheneba and Krabia, one of 2 Rastafarian children, were denied admission due to their dreadlocks, the student, Oheneba, is finally here today, and we are told he has completed his admission process and is currently in the classroom. His mother, Mana Marias, has been speaking to Metro News. How are you feeling this morning?
I'm chilled. I'm over the moon, you know. Yeah.
You have been in there with your son, Oheneba and Krabia. How has the reception been so far for you?
So far, so very good. You know, we were a bit nervous. When we got here, the reception have been warm so far. You know, it's far from what we had, you know, in our minds. Yeah. So, first of all, you know, we're approached by the chaplain. You know, he directed us to a particular place. I think the administration. We went there, so we're there. The day student prefect, you know, she came very warmly, welcomed Oheneba, you know, told him that, you know, he should feel feel at home. Nobody is going to do anything, you know, and it was kind of very warming, you know. Yeah, we met one of the teachers. I think he was directed to come and deal with us. So he He's given me, he's briefed me on the necessary things, that we are supposed to do. And then he took Oheneba back to his classroom.
We have also been speaking to father of Oheneba and Krabia, Ras Oswald in Krabia, who says his lawyers are prepared and are ready to meet Achimota School's lawyers if the appeal processes goes through. What will be your next line of action?
We will just prepare our legal team to address it. I'm not sure exactly what strategy they would have in order to address it, but from seeing how the whole thing went and knowing that the Constitution reigns supreme, I'm still standing on the fact that the Constitution, the principles and guidelines in the Constitution is what we are going to go by.
But are you happy?
Oh yes, I'm pleased. I'm pleased with what has happened so far. I think this should have happened from the beginning, where the Ministry of Education, play a key role in what was going on. The GS also, instead of GS making that U-turn, they should have stood their grounds, so we wouldn't have reached this far with a lot of this mess that took place.
Some residents along the dam whose houses are always flooded by the dam when it rains have contributed to construct some drains for water to flow into the dam. But what they cannot do is to construct a bridge over the drain, which will provide access route for motorists who are often stuck in traffic on the Temafenya Road. They say when it rains, workers at the other side across cannot go to work. School children are either carried across or they have to stay at home. Chairman of the Residents Association, Benjamin Isisu, narrates efforts they have made.
Road is very, very, very important. Now, if you want to go to Ashama, this is a shortcut. You pass on this bridge, and this is Washington, you are in Ashama. But because of the nature of this route, now the route is just too far. You have to come back and go and pass through Michelle Camp Road, through Afarewa, and join the traffic, through Afarewa, before you can get to Ashama. Meanwhile, Ashama is just it's a walking distance from here. But because of this bridge, you have to now turn, and it has become a journey.
Some of the residents also shared their bitter experiences with Metro News whenever it rains.
The major problem is, yes, if the student, I'm crying for the student, because when it rain fall, they cannot able to close the rain and go to school. And moreover, we are the motor guys there, we have been helping them to carry them across the river before they can able to go to school. Sometimes I feel pity for them. And moreover, if the rain fall, majority of the rain is coming from the up. Before by the end of the year, or if the rain fall, we cannot able to close it.
If the rain falls, not all the time, but at times when it falls heavily, it destroys things. It disturbs a lot.
Some of them have taken their personal initiative to stop flooding in the area, but can only ask for more.
That there's a huge task on us. So we decided to erect this gutter so that when it rains, there would not be any flood here. So we decided for the first time, we wrote to the assembly, to assist so that we could do all this. They came in, the DC or the MC, was also here to survey the area, and he told us, or he even assured us that they will also assist.
It was drama at the Accra High Court when some conveners of the hashtag Fix the Country clashed with the police at the entrance of the court complex. Explaining the situation to the media, ACP Kwesi Ofori, Operations Commander of the Greater Accra Regional Police, said they were trying to control the manner in which the conveners appeared in court.
This is a court premises, and that people should not come en masse, and that individually they can come in to the court. But looking at the premises, the police are here, one, to provide adequate security for the court building and all the other courts therein. So, coming en masse with placards, flags, and other paraphernalia, among other things, may mar the beauty and ethics of the court. In view of this, my men on the ground decided, among other things, that they could leave those placards, they could leave the flags, and then also, limit that militancy and go to the court as individuals. So that was the position of the police, but that was misconstrued. But at the end of the day, the police balance issues, and they were in, to appear before the court.
But one of the conveners, Felicity Nelson, who was manhandled, had this to say.
They said, "Oh, fix the country. You can't come in." So we said, first they said, "Stand back." So we said, "Oh, okay." So we thought they just wanted to engage, and they said, "You can't come in." And we said, "Why can't we come in?" They said, "No, because you're not allowed in." And they said, "But we've been asked to come to court. So how can you tell us that we can't come in?" So then I said, "Okay, I'm taking my phone out. I'm going to do a video. I want you to repeat what you just said on video." So I decided to do a Facebook Live. So while taking that video, and then he said, "Why are you?" Then he took the phone, and of course you saw him trying to drag me. I was trying to get the phone out of my hands, and then just telling us that we can't come in, we need to get our lawyers. At that point, they realized, so that's basically what happened.
When they were finally allowed in the court for the hearing to begin, lead counsel for the respondents, Kosi Foliba, prayed the court to allow for them to file an opposing motion against an extension of the injunction being sought by the police. It is on the back of this that the court, presided over by Justice Ruby Ayete, adjourned the hearing to June 14, 2021.
Welcome back. So time now for Ghana Moments. And for Ghana Moments this morning, we'll take a message from the editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide, Kweku Bakon. He's been speaking about the ruling by the Accra High Court ordering Achimota to admit Tyrone Magai and Oheneba in Krabia. Let's watch this and return for the conversation.
And I got it last night. I've read. I'm persuaded by the drift, the trust of this High Court judgment. I like it. But again, as Sami indicated, the GES and the school are entitled to file an appeal if they're so minded. I wish they wouldn't, to be honest. But they've given us the indication already that they intend doing so. It's good that the stay of execution has been vacated. Or they never tried. Did they file it? I'm not sure. They intended to file it.
There was an
intention to file it. I'm happy that that has been dropped upon the recommendation of the Attorney General. What I find tricky is this. It appears that Attorney General, because he was a respondent, I think he was the second respondent in this case, in the High Court case. Mm-hmm. And it's proper because of the fact that you are suing a school that belongs to the GES. I believe nominally the Attorney General will come in. Sonny may be able to explain some of those things well. But it looks as if in the course of the litigation, the Attorney General and the school were on one side. I suspect that at appeal level, the same situation may happen. I believe this matter should be allowed to.
So that's the editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide, Kweku Bakun Jr. Let me now introduce my guests. It's a packed show. It's what I call a Rasta family conversation plus a little law. I'll start with Oheneba Kweku Nkrabea. We're supposed to have him in the studio, but his parents advised against that, and we are okay with that. However, his mother and father join us as well. Mana Myers is mother of Oheneba Kweku Nkrabea. Mana, good morning and welcome to Inside Pages. And I'm really loving your hair.
Thank you so much.
I've picked a few tips, so you'll see me very soon.
Okay, sure.
We also have Ras Aswad Nkrabea, that's father of Oheneba Nkrabea. Good morning to you, Ras, and thanks for joining us. Yes. I remember when this happened, you've been so gracious to us. Anytime we call on you, you're here to speak to us. One of our presenters had an interview with you when it started, and I remember he asked you to speak to the government, to speak to the nation about what this means to you and how this is important to you. And you made a passionate appeal to the president and to the government, and today we are here. Mm-hmm. We also be speaking to Wayo Ghana Manti. He's the lawyer for Oheneba Kweku in Krabia. Wayo, it's good to see you again.
Thank you.
Have you been on Inside Pages, or you've been rather on Good Afternoon Ghana?
Yeah, I think it's Good Afternoon Ghana. In fact, we're the maiden edition. Eh?
Yes, so you were.
On the same matter.
Exactly. It's good to see you and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes. I also introduce Benjamin Antiedu, lawyer, legal researcher, and author. As usual, you're here to break down the law for us, and we are grateful to you. And good morning.
Thank you.
Yes.
Francisca, you should have, I'm an author as well. Oh, yes, my book, Judicial Codes for African Elections.
You didn't tell me.
Yeah, it's already in the system, so I'm an author.
Well noted. We'll make that correction as we move on, but well noted. That's for my producer to note. We also have with us via Zoom Ras Mubarak. He's a former MP for Kumbungu constituency. He'll be joining us, but we have Kweku Entribuesi. I think he's already on Zoom. He's a concerned citizen, and Kweku was also with us the first time we had this conversation on Inside Pages. Later on the show, we'll be joined by another Rasta family. Tyron Magai, he's an Achimota student, newly admitted. Terrio Magai, that's his father. And I believe his mother and sisters will also be joining us. But don't worry, we've made enough room for everybody to get on board. Yes, sociologist Dr. Christopher Ampedu will also be joining us to have a conversation about what this ruling means from the sociological point of view. But I'll go straight to Mana, mother of Oheneba and Krabia. So I just learned that from my producer that you've decided that he's not exposed to the media any longer.
Exactly.
Can you share with us why? We are okay with it.
Okay, yeah. So personally, I felt that we've achieved our objective, and so it should be enough. You know,
That's
the media exposure should be enough.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
But how does it feel? I've watched a number of interviews of yours. I think this is my first time interviewing you. And I've seen the passion with which you've been driven right from the start. Yeah. Leading this, a worried mother fighting all the way for her son. How do you feel now that this ruling has come?
Oh, I can't even find words for how I feel, but I feel really, really relieved and great, you know, because we had our plans for Heneba, you know, for his future, you know, so for what happened, it was more like our dreams were getting shattered, you know, so this have really brought, you know, some great relief to me.
But I want to ask, for most of his education, he had been in private school.
No, Oheneba was homeschooled from up to about 11 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he went to
he went to
JHS.
He went to JHS, but he attended IPMC at age 8. It's a tertiary institution, but he was very good with IT, and you know, so I enrolled him when he was 8 years old. Yeah, but that was for, I think, a year. Yeah.
What does it take to be a parent of a student or a young boy or young children wearing dreadlocks or rasta in Ghana?
It's very challenging. You know, people keep asking questions. Why the locks? You know, you go to places and people are staring. But there's also been the positive side where, you know, people say, they are very calm, respectful, gentle children. So people see them and they are in awe of their demeanor, their behavior, and all of that. So it's been both positive and negative, you know.
I'm going to speak to Raz Aswad in a bit, but before that, I want you to speak to us about the decision to pull out of the exam. That's for your son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so earlier on, I felt like he's been studying at home, and so we should give him the platform to be able to write the exam. But upon consultation with some few educationists, they advised that he's not being in school. He haven't studied. The school haven't taught him. So whatever he's studying online, it could be different from what the school have presented to the children who have been on campus, so we shouldn't let him write the exam. And so on that, we decided we were not going to.
And if he were here, I would have asked him this, but it's been a difficult journey, and then good news comes and he has to write exam. That's a lot of, different psychologies being put into one young boy.
Yeah.
How has he been faring?
He's good, but interestingly, yesterday he went to school. They gave him the paper because I guess that is the procedure, So he said he looked at the paper and it was very easy, Yeah, but then I don't know about, I think going forward, other subjects, how it will be. But he was like, oh, I wish I had written it because it was easy, But then I don't think it's a good idea for him to write.
So what happens with it? He takes, he joins the second semester and takes that exam. What will happen to the first term exam? He will have to resit?
I have written an official letter to the headmistress asking if they could make exemption for him to, write. So I'm told I'll get the feedback on Tuesday.
And I'll bring Daddy in, Ras Aswad, I'll bring you in. How is the interaction with the school now? This is a school that rejected your students, your son has been compelled by the court to now admit him. How is the interaction between the family and the school?
Well, we haven't started yet. I am expecting to go there on Monday, just to...
So if you could kindly use your microphone, thank you.
Sorry. Yes, we haven't started yet. I'm expecting to go there on Monday. To discuss the issue of the orientation, because it seemed like the orientation is not being done, and it's a very big campus, with different buildings and blocks and faculties and whatever. And I think he needs to get an orientation so that he knows exactly what the procedures are, where to go, who to see, so on and so forth. So I'll be going there on Monday to acquaint myself with that issue.
Generally, what are you expecting? Because earlier in the week, we heard Mami talk about the reception at the school when he was admitted. Are you expecting that will be the case, given that one of the orders from the courts was that there shouldn't be any interference with their stay or their admission there? What generally are you expecting?
Well, I'm expecting a positive one, just like I've been saying all along, that they should show him some love, show him some appreciation, welcome him. And I have seen that happening so far. It is on the way, because when I spoke with him yesterday, he said that he saw the headmistress and there was a pleasant greeting and smile, whatever, between the both of them.
And you guys have made history, really, and you've become really famous for it. How are you dealing with all of that? I'm sure when you step out, people are looking at you and say, that's the family that is changing the course of history in this country.
Yes, it's overwhelming. At first, I didn't expect it to, be this overwhelming, because I moved by my spirit when this whole thing happened, right? It just started escalating and mushrooming and whatever. But it's very, heartwarming to see the regular people, especially on the street. Yesterday, Oinaba told me that when he went in the church, the people, he got 2 offers for people to pay for his fare and all of that, because they recognize him in there. So I think it is good in the sense that the negative things that were out there about Rastafari, this has been able to expel a lot of that kind of negativity. And the media have made a massive contribution to that become a reality.
I'll come back to the bit you said. So what happened to the office?
Like people paid for his fare.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. Let me bring in his lawyer, your son's lawyer, who also used to wear dreadlocks. Will you be going back to the dreadlocks anytime soon?
When we get to that bridge, we'll cross.
Okay, but that's Wayo Ghana Manti's lawyer for Ohineba Nkrabea and an author. I've corrected myself. So for you, the question I want to ask is, how much did religion play in this case? Was religion the silver bullet?
Technically, yes, because we were looking at the various provisions under the law, which are cast in the form of the rights and freedoms. And in this scenario, religion was the government. It was the key. In fact, you're right. It was the silver bullet, because the intention to block or deny the entry was based on the hair. And so we needed to ground that disposition of the hair in the law. So in grounding that, it has to be linked to the basis, which is the religion, and which is the Numbers chapter 6, verse 5, where the Lord of hosts himself has guided people who want to separate themselves for the Nazarene cause to keep their hair, so long as they are under that vow. So religion became very important. However, it was not in dispute, because at a certain point, the respondent began to realize that there's an avalanche of cases and authorities out there, both in Ghana and beyond our shores, that expressly depicts Rastafarianism as a religion. In fact, people keep referring to Reed versus Faulkner in the US, which is 1988, but they have just forgotten Yameneba and others versus the state, 1965, by the great Olenu. In fact, when the name Olenu is mentioned, he's a tall legal brain when it comes to our judicial dispensation in Ghana. If you are referring to something in the US in 1988, and Olenu has already said it in 1965, look at the year gap. And in that case, Olenu said it, that it was a criminal matter where some group of people were prosecuted. And when it got to Olenu, he said the appellant belonged to a religious sect, into brackets, Rastafarian. A religious sect, into bracket, Rastafarian, by the great Olenu, as far back as 1965. Then in 1988, Reed and Faulkner in the US also said Rastafarianism is a religion. So it was not in dispute. And if it's not in dispute that it's a religion, then what is the basis upon which the applicant before the court seeks the relief? Now, the basis is that I have to manifest this religion. And in manifesting this religion, the Numbers chapter 6:5 indicates that razor shall not touch my hair. So if I'm a 16-year-old chap, from the very first day I was born, if razor is not touching my hair for a couple of years, 16 years, imagine how my hair will look like. And that is what Ohinebe's hair looks like. So the point was very clear that if the religion is upheld, then the manifestation of that religion is also cast. And to be able to dispel it or limit it, like the court said, you need very compelling reasons to do that. So you are right, religion played a very important role in this matter.
And do you share in the Rastafarian religion as well?
Yes, I do.
And that will be why you're very passionate about it. In all my conversations with you, you've exhibited a lot of passion.
And that is why a lot of people are saying that, I'm not saying other lawyers can't do this, but you see, it's not about the law. If it's the law, we all know the law. We all know Article 17 says that, Article blah, blah, blah. But the facts and the law, and how you navigate it. I'm a Rasta man, and it's at my doorstep. I know what I'm talking about. And on this platform, I'm not trying to belittle my other learned friend who was in the matter. But the point is that the Rastafarian, vibes and tenets I can advance and put out there is coming from what I know, not what I've been told. So I understand it. I know what I'm talking about, and it's crystal clear. Like you asked, I know the lead up will be, why am I not wearing dreadlocks? So if you go back to Numbers chapter 6 itself, the Lord of hosts has laid down, so long as you are under the vow, you keep the dread. So as well in Krabia, you see him sitting down there, he's still under the vow. And if he wants to be under the vow for the rest of his life, he has to keep these dreadlocks. But then you can also go out of the vow, where you take off the locks. But if you take off the locks, it doesn't mean you cease to be a Rasta man. You cease to be a Nazarian, but you remain a Rasta man, because the Rastafarian doctrine is a host of issues. For example, other issues as in altar, diet, consciousness. The reason why somebody will say I'm a Rasta man and you could be somebody else is even the battle of consciousness. If can
somebody be a Rasta man and not wear the locks?
That's exactly what I've just said.
Which is what you are doing.
Exactly.
But you're outside the vow.
Outside the vow. So those you see with the locks, they are still under Numbers 6:5, keeping the vow, keeping the razor not touching their hair, so long as they are under the vow. But when you move out of the vow,
what does the vow do for you?
The vow is the sacred separation of yourself between you and your Creator.
Okay.
And for instance, if you are under the vow, you don't take strong wine. So I, as I sit here, can decide to take, if you say strong wine, so that if King David wanted to take wine on a certain day jubilating, he will do that. If the president of this country, after a certain victory, want to take wine, he will do that. But the very moment you are under the vow, you don't take strong wine. So if you see Aswad in the corner tomorrow taking wine, you have to chastise him. But I can take wine. You don't go in contact with dead bodies. What that simply means is that even if a sibling, if it's a child, if it's a mother or something, passes, this issue of file pass and all that, it is not really the thing for a Rastaman who's under the vow with the dreadlocks. Because the moment you do that, you go against the vow, and straight away you need to take off that dreadlocks. So it entails a whole lot of dynamics.
Thanks for that education, very informative. Now I want to ask, given that the case or this ruling is coming from a high court, and there are superior courts above the high court, you have the Court of Appeal, you have the Supreme Court, are you worried that it's not conclusive?
We are not very much worried, because we think that moving a step further is very important for the proper crystallization of this matter. Like Aswad said, we embarked on this journey not because of these two children, but for the sake of posterity, and also the quest to help address institutional discrimination as well as minority rights. So it's a bigger, holistic national fight. And he took it upon himself and indicated that if his son is to be the person who has to be the main spot, the victim, it's an opportunity, because if it was even somebody's son, an activist as he is, he will rise to the occasion for that fight. So if now, by a divine orchestration, it's been his son, it's the right step to take, than he allowing this opportunity to pass. And I know along the way, our sister Mana will have to have some issues with us, but we need to explain to her how to come on board. So Aswad has been resolute in his mind that wherever this matter ends, even if it goes upstairs, so if it has not gone our way, we rather would have gone upstairs. Where we are happy now is that Section 2 of the Children's Act at 560 says, talks about the welfare principle, where it says that the primary consideration of everything we do in respect of a child is that child's benefit and welfare. So that is where we are happy. Now the children are in school. So that phase, like Mana said, is off. But the fact that that phase is off, we think that there are so many things to be settled. For instance, if you look at how because the case were two, my learned friend Gauga made an argument on respect of Tyron's case. My legal team and myself made our argument on respect of Ahinibe's case. And in our case, for instance, we attacked the Achimota rules itself. The rules that brought us to court, we attacked it. If we look at the ruling that has come, the judgment, we can see that the judge concentrated heavily on the violations.
Yeah.
Don't violate this right, because if you do, it's not constitutional. But what Ghanaians don't know is that there were some other salient points in the submission, the entire submission, that the judge thought, I mean, whether I looked at it or I don't look at it, I can still give a ruling based on the tangent I've told, which is the violations. But for example, the Achimota rule itself that brought us here, if you look at the offenses, it's bushy hair, chemicalized hair, whatever it is, the corresponding sanction is internal and external suspension. There's no sanction in this very rude line that looks like denial of admission or non-enrollment. What we're seeing nationally and globally is a denial of admission. You are denying the children admission. But we go back to the very rules you are applying. There's no sanction like denial of admission. The sanction is that internal or external suspension. What it means is that the child or the student needs to be in the school. Then you invite the parents. The parents come and then you said, okay, your child has broken a rule. This is how to go. So these matters all have to be looked at. When we go to the Court of Appeal, the Court of Appeal will not gloss over that. The Court of Appeal will just look at, for example, if you say you have a rule, it's like a criminal offense. If the law says fine and 3 years, you cannot give the accused person 5 years. You go out of your jurisdiction.
So perhaps what I want to understand is that, and this is hypothetically speaking, if the case is appealed and the first ruling is overturned, what does that mean for your client and his admission in school?
Yeah, what it will mean is that the right to be in the school has overturned, because now they are in the school based on the ruling, the judgment, that they have the right to go in, that you are violating their right to education, so stop. So now they've stopped, so now they've gone in. Anything otherwise, if it is overturned on appeal by the Court of Appeal judges that will sit on this matter, it means that your right to education has not been violated. So Achimota might think their rules will now suffice again, so don't come in. But then we will also now file and go to the Supreme Court.
Okay.
And we at that time will file our stay of execution. This time around, they were told not to file because it's becoming too much. I mean, the country must move on. But the very moment a court of appeal overturns what the High Court has done, we will file an appeal to the Supreme Court and file our stay of execution to stop them. So that the children will still be in school, whilst the apex court of the land will determine the matter.
Very well. Let me go to Zoom right now and connect with Kweku Entwi-Boesiakon. He's a concerned citizen. Kweku, you, however, belong to the other side, if I may say, just for the purposes of debate. And I remember your arguing point was Article 14. You spoke like a lawyer that day. What's your reaction to the ruling?
Thank you, Francisca, and good morning. Good morning to all your guests. My reaction will be in two parts. The first part is, as a parent myself, whose daughter attended Achimota School, I am delighted for the children and their parents. And let's get it right. My position then, as expressed under Article 14, was not to say that the children do not have a right to education.
Yes.
Now, that part of the judgment for me is sound, is safe, and even if it goes to a court of appeal or Supreme Court, I am convinced they will come to the same conclusion that you cannot, under any circumstances, deny any child in Ghana their right to education. So on that score, I have no issue at all with the judgment. The second part of the judgment, however, has to do with their freedom to practice and manifest their religion. That is a part that I think the judgment is not sound and it's not safe. And I'll give at least 4 reasons why it is not sound and 1 reason why it is not safe. If you give me that opportunity.
Yes, but please make it brief.
Yeah, I'll make it quick. The first thing is that the judge basically set the wrong issues for trial and for the judgment. The issue at stake was not the right of the children to education. And Achimota School was not saying that the children do not have the right to education. The Achimota School, what I know or what I heard were saying was that we will give you admission, but you need to comply with certain set of rules. The parents and the children, on the other hand, said, yes, we can take the admission, but we are not prepared to forego the right to practice and manifest his religion. So for me, the main issue that the judge should have focused on was the issue of whether or not, as an institution, Achimota School has a right to insist on rules that affect the practice and manifestation of the religion of the child. And that moves me to the second reason why I say the judgment is not sound. The judge should have separated the issue of right to education from the right to freedom to practice and manifest religion. And for that reason, she also failed to address her mind to Article 14.1, because if you are dealing with an issue that the same constitution has expressly made provision for by way of exemption, then at the very least, you should address your mind to that, even if your interpretation of that provision is different or will result in the same judgment that you have, at least you should address your mind to that. But I say if she had done that, she would have come to a different conclusion on the issue of freedom to express, to practice, and to manifest your religion.
Can I make an intervention there? So that if you're making the point that the judge should have separated the right to education and the freedom to express one's religion. But given the facts of the case, isn't there a link, isn't there a correlation? By denying them their freedom to express their religion, you inadvertently deny them the right to education.
No. No, because let me tell you, if you look at the entire chapter 14:1, and it's important to do that because otherwise people will not understand the issue properly. Because if you look at chapter 14:1, article 14:1, yeah. Okay? Yeah, if you look at article 14:1, there's something very, very important there. A talks about execution of a sentence in order of a court. Basically talking about the prison service. You also go to C and D, and that will talk about health institutions. And then you go to E, that talks about education. Now, if you take the prison service, for example, okay, if you look at the NRCD 46, you look at section 40(1), subsection 1, they say no prisoner shall be hindered in the reasonable exercise of his religious observances. That is a variation of the person's freedom of religion. You have the freedom, the Constitution provides for that, but if you go to the prison service will not allow you the full extent of your freedom to practice and to manifest your religion. The important point I'm making is that same article 14:1, talks about the prison service, talks about health institutions, talks about education institutions. Why is the prison service able to exercise the powers conferred on them via 14:1, but educational institutions cannot exercise the same restriction that the law allows them to exercise?
So I want to proffer an answer, which really is a question, because someone will say that a school and a prison facility are two different things. The students will not be different things. The students are not. The provisions are made. You see, that's why you need to read that whole article 14:1. But I wanted to interrogate the comparison and the expectation that same treatment should be given, because I think that there's a clear distinction between a school and a prison. Even their freedoms will be different. The limitations
is that every person shall be entitled to his personal liberty, and no person shall be deprived of his personal liberty except in the following cases. And that lists all these cases I've cited to you. So,
Kweku, can I bring?
Prison is different from a school.
Kweku,
the law provides for opportunity to restrict the personal liberty, and that includes an educational institution.
Yes, but I want to make the point, Kweku, if I may, I want to make the point that in executing that, I don't think it will be the same for a school as it would be for a prison. So hold your horses. I just want to get so let me bring Ben in here, lawyer Benjamin and Tiedu in here to throw light on Article 14:1. Really, Ben.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
I have listened, and Senior was laughing at a point. Yes, he's making a good case that at some point the judge should have separated the issues, because there's a link. But at least you have to give clarity to the dimensions involved so that, going forward, because I think that even Senior will agree with me that you don't have clarity as going forward what other issues should be handled. And that is where the fear of the floodgate is. But responding specifically to his, dogmatism to Article 14, that is in respect of protection of personal liberty. I think that this context is quite different. I will agree that you can glean some shade of example from that end, but it is not applicable.
Okay.
What is applicable is the basis under which a right or freedom can be limited under Article 12(2). And that is where CLOSAC, the test for doing that, was duly analyzed. We don't, at this stage, I don't think our business is to examine whether the judgment is sound or not. when we get there, probably some comments will come. But, for this particular point of Article 14, it is not really the matter or the legal issue for this decision. But if you want to take an example as, an example of a case where some limitation can be given, because here you're talking about right to education, and then under Article 21, 1B and C, where you're talking about your right to religion and then to profess it. Okay.
Very well.
So that is the point I want to make.
So, let me now come back to you to wrap up on your 4-point reaction to the ruling. Kweku. Okay, I think we've lost Kweku on that connection, but I'll come back to you, Ben. So I've heard a number of arguments that all of this was unnecessary if there was no need to take the matter to court if the two sides had sat down and agreed. And indeed, lawyer Wayo indicated that even the sanctions for breaching the Achimota rules were not supposed to be denial of admission. Do you agree with that position, that all of this could have been avoided?
And just permit me to say good morning to my uncle, Prince Echampo, who has returned from U.S., back from the glass country, glass in Kuna. Luckily, we have glass also here, so he's welcome back home. So, particularly about the whole case, I see it as a victory for our democracy, a victory for human rights. I will congratulate the lady justice also for the expeditious trial. We want to see this when it comes to rights. You want a quick resolution or disposal of the matter. And then kudos to my seniors and then the parents. This is the democracy we want. That whenever you have a difficulty, run to the court. That gives us the neutral arbitration so that the matter will be settled. Kudos to the Ministry of Education and to Achimota School. Mother and then father have attested to the warm reception accorded our brother, and that is soothing. That is good. That's a good sign. You see that it started, it boiled up, it has settled coolly. I will want this matter to go on appeal, not for the fact that it will affect the right of our brother. That should be separated, and it's conclusive. That will not be touched. But going forward, we want to fully get the contours of the right under Article 21, 1A, A, B, and C. Okay, so when we say the right to practice and manifest a religion, what is that package? So that at every point in time, we don't need to go to court for that clarity. Okay. We need guidance on that, and that is what further appeals will bring. Okay.
Can I make an intervention real quick, so that if a similar case is sent to another high court and they give a different ruling, or a ruling to the other side, allowing Achimota to hold on to its rules, what would that mean? With this ruling also in existence, hypothetically?
Yes, you said hypothetically. It might not happen. We have only one high court, senior who attests to that. And so you find that, you cannot bind yourself. So that ruling will not bind the other court. But that will be a conflicting decision, which may be a second application for clarity on it will suffice. But there is an accrued right. And as Senior has said, now the table turns in their favor, where they can even stay execution in their favor and then seek a final decision to guide. But we should see this case as a watertight one in respect of the right to education. If there are certain consequential matters to be dealt with, we shouldn't miss the two. But we need clarity on the scope, the entire scope of Article 21 in respect of right to religion and to profess it. But let me quickly also respond to or add to Senior's comment about Rastafarianism, whether it's a religion or not. If you look, and I was excited that in the judgment there's reference to the right to exercise your belief. So the fact that it is not a religion, even given that is the case, does not deny the practitioner of it the right to that protection.
Really?
Because the belief alone is sufficient.
Okay.
And that is the point I've been making, that we shouldn't even contest about. That is why you have Article 21(1)(b), which deals with the belief part. And the Constitution is clear that when it comes to matters of discrimination and all, your creed, what is a creed? Creed is not a religion. It's a set of beliefs. So having the belief alone is sufficient. So this argument about it's not a religion or it is a religion is of no moment.
Help me understand. This is also another hypothetical one. So that if somebody wore dreadlocks or wears dreadlocks in this similar instance or circumstance, what would the outcome of the case be if they weren't arguing religion and it's just who they are?
And that is the floodgate issue, because the question has been, and that is why I support the gentleman who spoke earlier via Zoom, that if our brother wasn't canvassing religion, or there were three, or let's say three, the third person was saying that I'm wearing it for stylistic or cosmetic effect, then where would the decision be? And I think that is where we need clarity by way of further appeal, which will clarify the matter. But I don't expect the circumstance, if it's for purpose of education, then you are saying that certain kind of rules, should not be permitted. So this one, we should get to a point where the court will even give guidance on what must be in the school rules. Okay, because that question will be difficult to answer, because here, as Senior said,
informed guess.
The basis of the judgment is on religion, and he grounded it firmly on that. So if the person, our brother, was not a Rastafarian, then what would have been the outcome of this case? It is
what would be your educated guess?
The guess will be no. Will be no, and that is where you will get a difficulty in discrimination also. Okay. So it is a very uncharted water that we need clarity.
I would hold the floodgate conversation for now. I want to go back to, because Lawyer Wayo will be taking leave shortly. I want to go back to him. Lawyer Wayo, so the question really I want to ask is that, in playing devil's advocate, some will say that, so this ruling, or the outcome of this ruling, puts your client and the other gentleman in a position where they get special treatment. And some people will say that that's also discriminatory to the rest of the other students who have to go by that rule. What do you say to that?
No, I think that is not the case, because even in court, a very important case outplayed, Nate versus Gatti, where one of our seasoned Supreme Court justices who has done this country a great service, Professor Datiban, distilled it. He's saying that we cannot get a situation where all of us will be treated equally. In fact, equal treatment means treating people with similar characteristics as against those who are not in that characteristics. So if you and I, if Oheneba and Tyrone, per the evidence, are Rastas, they must be treated in that characteristics as persons of the same equal standing, as against the other person who is not a Rasta. Because it is very impossible to treat all of us equally. So that question, Nate versus Gatti, settled it. In fact, both parties, the respondent raised it in line with the argument you are making. Then when we were on our feet, we rebutted it with the same argument that, but the learned justice is saying that treat people on similar characteristics to mean that you are giving them equal treatment as against those who are not on those same characteristics. You understand? So it is settled. People might make that argument, but the argument is that if you and I are on one pedestal, the law says give us that treatment. If somebody is not on that characteristics with us, and you do that for us, it's not be seen as being discriminatory. The last thing I want to add is in respect of the floodgate. You close it, but let me just take my take a bit, because it's passionate. You see, the case of Republic versus Tommy Thompson Books, 1996-97, is very crystal. And what does the court say? The court says that courts of law will not concern themselves, or a court of law will not concern itself with abstract metaphysics, but apply the law to factual evidence. So all these issues of floodgates, they are basically assumptions. And the law does not look at assumptions. We don't look at abstract metaphysics. It's case by case basis. So even this argument of belief that my learned friend is talking about in Article 21, where Article 20 says is the right to practice, profess, and maintain. Then if you come to 21, where you have the freedom of conscience, belief, and religion. Now, I did legislative drafting. At the Ghana School of Law, you have option to do banking, industrial, and drafting. I did banking. Sorry, I did legislative drafting. We have eyes for the laws. We don't use words anyhow. So if I found a document, and in that document it says maintain, there's a meaning why the drafter put the word maintain there. A lawyer who did banking or industrial law, fine, we are all lawyers, but when it comes to expert-wise, it cannot be compared. So it's not in contention when you want to put assumptions into laws. Let's take a classical case of the issue of, let's say, Wolomo wearing the cloth to come to Achimota School. Now, I made this example on one of your sister stations. The reason why that argument will not fly, because the test is that you must meet a compelling public circumstances to curtail the right or to limit the right under Article 12.2 that he said. So if the issue is wearing school uniforms, up to today, Ghanaians wear uniforms. Until we move away from not wearing school uniforms, where you can wear anything and come to school, if we get it like other European countries, but now we wear uniforms. Take a Presec boy and then an Achimota boy. The only way you can differentiate between the two of them, if they are all wearing white shirts and trousers and a black shoe, when you see these two boys, who goes to Presec, who goes to Achimota, you can't differentiate between them. The only way you can differentiate between them is the one wearing the Achimota uniform and the one wearing the Presec uniform. So you get to see that if an issue arises before the court in line with uniforms, they might not have the same results like we have gotten. The reason is that the uniform argument will be very compelling. Why is it compelling? From this example I've just given you.
Even if the argument will be
so
on
that
the basis of religion?
Yes, so if the Wolomo son comes and insists, I want to wear my clothes, that argument might fail. Because in the community of students, if you are working at Circle, you must know that you are a Achimota student. But if you are wearing your white cloth, are you a Presec student? Are you an Achimota student? So the argument will be different. So let's not assume and move into abstract metaphysics. It must be case by case basis. But why the hair argument will fail is this. If the same students are wearing white shirts and they are all having low cut, like Achimota is saying, you will still not be able to differentiate who goes to Achimota, who goes to Presec. They are all wearing white shirts, khaki trousers, low cut. Who goes to Achimota? You know it. So the same way, wearing dreadlocks, two of them wearing dreadlocks, wearing white shirt, nobody. So the hair argument was not compelling. But the very moment they are standing there and they are wearing low cuts and they are wearing Presec uniform and Achimota uniform, you can see the difference. So it is case by case basis. And don't let us overstretch the argument that it's a floodgate. It's not a floodgate. The court will deal with every matter that appears before it.
Okay. Let's hold our horses on the floodgates. And we'll take a break. We'll take a break so that you can excuse us, Lawyer Wayo. But we are grateful to you for your time here. And I know Benjamin wants to come in. Benjamin, let's hold our horses. We'll take a break. When we you wanted him to respond to something?
Yes, to raise the matter.
Okay, quickly, maybe.
To ask whether your right, a constitutionally guaranteed right, will sway to identification of a student in this case. Yes. Because if he's also dressing because of his religion, then you cannot downplay it just for purposes of identification.
No, but you see, the argument Article 12.2 is that right is not absolute. I don't think human rights activists will argue that right is absolute. So right is not absolute. It means that right can be curtailed. And if you check out the principles that lay down how if you look at the UN Syracuse principle on derogation and limitation of fundamental human rights, it lays down the principle upon which you can limit or you can derogate. One of them is simply that it must be by law, and that law must be compelling. So the argument is, if the right is understood not to be absolute, at what point should the limitation come in? And it must be for public interest, it must be not to hinder the other person's right. Now, citing the uniform issue, like I indicated, if two chaps go to Circle, they are all wearing white shirts, and then they go and steal a mobile phone, it becomes a criminal matter, and then it's of public interest, and they are all students. Which school do we identify this person who went to steal, and then the other person is arrested? So the law will look at the point that if they were wearing their uniforms, if one was wearing a Presec uniform and one was wearing an Achimota uniform, and let me say any of them does the act which is against the law, which now is of public interest, the whole community in Circle will not bounce on the other boy wearing the white shirt. They will quickly go after the one who has been identified and then deal with him. So even though somebody will come before the court based on right to manifest and perform and practice, because the law itself indicates that right is not absolute, and it outplayed in this matter. That was one focus of the judge, which was not in dispute. So both parties were not in dispute that the right is absolute. Right is not absolute. So you can limit it. But Achimota and the state were supposed to justify why they are limiting. And what came out is that they could not justify that. But I'm saying that this issue of floodgates, we shouldn't overstretch it, because there will come a time when you appear before the court, the state will be able to justify the compelling reason why that right should be limited. And when that justification is sound in the eyes of the court, that right will be allowed to be hindered.
The interesting thing about lawyers, you make arguments for either sides, and some of us will get lost along the way. But thank you. I want us to take a break so that lawyer Wayo can take leave of us. We are grateful to Wayo Ghana Manti, lawyer for Hineba and Krabia, and also an author. Let's return after this break. I'll bring you messages, and the discussion will continue. Stay with us.
Need a little help? Nobody does it better. At UCS Facility Management, we give you the best in janitorial services, which include high-rise window cleaning, office cleaning, post-construction cleaning, facade washing, deep cleaning, carpet cleaning, swimming pool cleaning, and event janitorial services. Locate us at Jowolu, JA Plant Pool premises, or call us on 0501 666 322 or 0203 299 212 or 0203 299 234. UCS, your property is under our care.
As a mother and wife, my priority is making sure my family is protected at all times. That is why I never forget to give my angel a Flora disposable handkerchief to keep germs and sweat at bay. When Habi is out in the fields, I'm rest assured of Flora coming in handy anytime he needs it. Even when my daughter Na is out late, I am confident Flora disposable handkerchief will be close enough to save the moment. Flora disposable handkerchiefs are my go-to disposable handkerchiefs any day, anytime, and everywhere. Flora disposable handkerchiefs is affordable and handy. Flora, better than cloth handkerchiefs. Flora is a product of Delta Paper Mill Limited. For inquiries and bulk purchases, call 0243 033 033.
We are one man short. Should we invite him?
Yeah.
It be old cargo. Can I join you guys?
Yeah. Always drink fresh, natural eggs, mineral water.
You still got it. Always keep hydrated naturally. That's my secret.
Manufactured with the primary aim of preserving nature's finest minerals necessary for a healthy mind and body. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Welcome back to Inside Pages. I'll read a few messages before we proceed. This is coming from Alaji Tanko from Bon. He says, if it will take these Rastafarians to take our educationists, technocrats, and decision makers to sit up and start doing things right, so be it. Do you know that the Rastafarian principles are almost akin to Islam? The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, kept his hair. He only cut the hair on his head when he returned from Medina to Mecca to perform the pilgrimage. After the last tawaf, he then told all his followers to go cut down their hair but leave their beard. So there are some similarities between Rastafarianism and Islam. Thank you for your message. BBO from Tema sends this. Good morning to you all and to the parents. I'm so proud of you for standing by your child and also opened a way for the future generation. I say congratulations to you. God richly bless you, Madam Host. God bless you for choosing this path of bringing on board a team of Rastafarians. Some media network wouldn't do so. Thank you for that. And Metro TV, we try to be innovative. Someone says, try to bring Mr. Buesiako. Yes, we've reconnected with him and we will do that. Good morning to your panel. Please, I'm called Maliku. I want to know whether a student in Achimota School can join the Rastafarian religion on campus. That's my humble question. Okay, we'll see if we can get you an answer, but we don't necessarily have a representative from the school. Good morning. Please, I want to ask, what religion did the boy use when filling his form for the school? Because we have Islam, Christianity, and others. Again, students have their dress code too. As a student, you have to shave and look decent. So if we are supporting all this, then it is paving the way for others to send any dressing to school. So when you go to Rome, you do what Romans do. Okay, I think you can look decent. I have my natural hair and I think I look decent. But thanks for your message. Samuel in Ejura says, the consequences of this ruling is a harm in disguise. I think Article 39(1) talks about appropriate and conscious inclusion of customary values into national life. It has surely opened the gates for other beliefs. Read Article 14(1)(e) to support my claim. Benjamin will speak to this, and you've already made a few comments, but you speak to it as well. Hi, good morning. I'm Enoch from Baron. Should a traditionalist put on cowries on his hair in his religion? Okay, Rasta? Okay, I'm not sure I can make sense of your message. Try and send it again. You didn't add your name, but I'll take a final one. Fabian Takroase says, good morning to you and your panel. Is the Rastafarian's lawyer saying if he had been contacted first by Achimota School for defense, he wouldn't have been able to do that to protect discipline in the schools? I fear lawyers and I don't trust them. That's not fair. That's not fair. Let's go to Zoom. I had a question for Daddy and Mommy, but I'll hold on. Let's go to Zoom. We're joined by Ras Mubarak. He's an MP for Kumungo, and if you hear his name, you see why he's part of this conversation. And he's also been advocating for a lot of human rights, such as these. Ras, good morning to you, and it's good to hear from you again. Here we are, once again, to have this conversation. How do you feel about this ruling?
Well, how good and how pleasant it is to get a ruling like this that, further cements the fundamental rights of Rastas, to access education, and has been amply demonstrated in our constitution in 28(4). Every Ghanaian child, has a right to education. So I was elated, to have heard about the news of the victory, and I commend the legal team, Raswayo and his colleagues, for their tenacity. I commend the family also for their resilience. A lot of these things would happen in our society. The best way to settle them would be to go to the courts and to secure judgment in favor or against, So I wasn't particularly surprised by the decision. I think it's very sound. I think it's well grounded in law. Yes, Achimota has the right to appeal, but in appealing, it ought to look at the best interest of the children. And I think the route that they took, in even attempting to place an injunction, but for the intervention of the Minister for Education and the Attorney General, they would have gone on that route. I saw it as exhibiting, bourgeoisie tendencies, because you have a situation where a court had made a ruling. You have a situation where Achimota School did not want to place the best interest of the children first. I mean, its core duty is to provide education to children, and irrespective of whose children, whether a Rasta child or a Muslim child or a Hindi child or a Christian child, and to have traumatized the children in this manner. Look, what they have done would obviously ring in the minds of many children, not just these two kids, but kids from within Achimota who should have been learning about diversity and inclusion, that in spite of our differences, we could coexist. That one may be Rasta, one may be Christian, one may be Hindi or Jew or whatever, but in building a cohesive society, we need to recognize these differences and live together in unity and harmony. That is how to build.
Very well. Ras, if I can ask a few follow-ups. First, you say that you're not surprised with the ruling. Tell me why.
No, because of what's enshrined in Article 28 of the Constitution and the children's rights. And don't forget that one of the reasons why they went to court was to enforce that right, to have access to education based on their religion, which they are being discriminated against, as far as I understand the ruling. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine.
Now, Achimota, just one point. Achimota seeking to place an injunction, and Achimota, seeking an appeal. Yes, they have a right, but I thought that was, very disrespectful. Disrespectful to the parent ministry.
I think they've called back the decision for the stay of execution.
Yes, they have, but I'm making if I may land on the point.
Sure.
GS does not operate in isolation. All the schools in Ghana, through GS, when they are submitting their budgets, it is a Ministry of Education that brings their budgets to Parliament for approval, and, for approbation. So you would expect that upon such a landmark ruling, which went against them, they would have sought to engage the ministry initially, to see what the thinking of the ministry was, to see what the position of the chief legal advisor to government is, before deciding whether or not to attempt to place an injunction. Even though they have rescinded the decision to place an injunction, I thought that was very unfortunate. I thought that could even spark us insubordination to the minister. And if I were in the minister's shoes when it happened, I would have immediately dissolved the board. I would have dissolved the board for acting in a manner that is not consultative. As much as the board may, Achimota School can sue and be sued. The board was sworn in on behalf of the president by the minister. So you would expect institutions of state, to engage parent ministries on weightier matters like the court ruling and how to go forward. But I am happy that cool heads have prevailed.
Very well.
I am happy that the minister his authority, and I think that is the way and manner in which things should be done in the country, where structures are properly respected.
Let me pick on an interesting angle or twist that you bring to this conversation. You talk about inclusivity. Do you think that given this ruling and given, the dynamics and facts of this case, this society called Ghana is ready for an all-inclusive society, especially religious inclusivity?
We have always been a very inclusive society. What we have had, in recent times are packets of discrimination. What we have had, are incidences of overzealous heads of institutions who have so much decided not to embrace the spirit of inclusivity. It's not for nothing that students from Accra or any other region will be placed elsewhere, just so that they, blend with their brothers and sisters from elsewhere. We all cannot be my tribe, the Gombes. We all cannot be Zimas and Evers and Fantis and so on. Neither can we all be Muslims or Christians or Hindus or Rastafarians. So there's diversity in society, and especially at this stage of our history, where we are seeking to consolidate our Africanness and to ride on that and to use that as a stepping stone to promoting Ghana. Isn't it surprising that kids of Caucasian descent are allowed to wear their hair however long, and then Africans in our own country are told that they have to go and shave their dreadlocks? As an African, a proud one at that, as a Pan-Africanist, I just couldn't believe that this was happening in Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana, especially when
But does this case, pardon my intrusion, does this case mean anything for that? How does it affect this culture where Caucasians are allowed to keep their hair whilst Africans or Ghanaians are not?
It does, because the school rule must apply equally. You can't make one rule for Ghanaians and another rule for Caucasians, for Europeans, and I think that that's very unfair. In any case, we need to look at the substance and we need to look at the key issues. For me, the issues should have been about the content of the character of these kids. And Francisca, how many Ghanaian kids whose parents are Muslims or Christians have written BEC or whichever examination and scored the highest mark or some of the highest marks as these kids? So it tells you that the kids are exceptional children. It tells you that they are disciplined. Because if they weren't disciplined, I'm not sure they would have gotten the kinds of marks that they got. And it should be largely about the content of their character rather than how they appear. We are not seeking to have one rule for Rastas and another rule for other persons. But I'm saying in the spirit of inclusivity, where if you were working at Metro TV and you saw somebody who is Hindu, you wouldn't go, oh, wait a minute, she's Hindu? Where if you're working in Parliament and you saw somebody who's Rasta, you wouldn't go like, wait a minute, Rasta in Parliament? It is not healthy for our society. It divides communities, it divides societies, and we want these kids to grow up thinking that we could be different but still belong to one country and one community.
Okay, I want to quickly ask Mana before I go to. I'm told I have a sociologist on the phone, but quickly, Mana, I want to ask you, when you made the decision, and we'll get to what went into that decision in a bit, but when you made a decision to take this up at the courts, what kind of reactions did you get? Did people feel that you were too litigant, you were not being a Ghanaian by letting it go? Did you get those reactions?
I did. I did have even friends and family who stopped talking to me.
Whoa.
Yeah, because to them, I was destroying the child's life. They said I should cut the hair and let him go to school. And I insisted on the fact that he's not a baby, that I just, decide and cut his hair. He's 16 years and he have a brain and a mind of his own, and then, this is a hair that he's had from his childhood, and it's been part of, bringing him up, because I've always told him and his brothers that you look different in society, and so and then people have negative perception about people who have locks. So you always have, to dissolve that perception by, being behaving yourself well, being respectful, being studious, and all of that. And so at a point, Oheneba said, I have done all these things, and I have written BEC even at a point where I was very sick, because 4 days of his writing the BEC, he was very, very sick. Even the teachers wanted to pull him out, but he still went ahead and pulled through. So he was asking questions like, after doing all these things, why should, I be told to cut my hair? What has my hair got to do with anything? So psychologically and emotionally, Ohimba went through a lot, whilst I was also being bashed, by, the world, for standing up for him.
Interesting. Let's get on the phone lines and speak to Dr. Christopher Ampedu. He's a sociologist. Good morning to you, Doc. Hello, Doc. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Really great. Thank you.
Great. I'm sure you've heard about the High Court ruling that Achimota should go ahead and admit the 2 students who had dreadlocks on.
Yes, I've heard.
Yes, let's talk from a sociological point of view. This is a society that, yes, has varied parts. We've got a variation of ethnicities, religions, but like Ras Mubarak said, there are pockets of, stereotypes and discriminations here and there. With this ruling, what does it mean for our society? Could this be a step for more inclusivity?
Thank you so much. I believe Rob is talking about ethnic tradition, rather. Why? Because over the years, Achimota has been a place people cherish growth, a place where people are proud to go. And the type of leaders, the type of people that have come out from this group, what has kept them all together. There has been Muslims, people of other faiths that have gone through all the years. Why do we need a high court ruling on the school now? And what we talk about the character of the school. Now, as we talk about the value of the school and some value. What has kept Ghanaians together is regardless of our religiosity, we still see ourselves as one people. Now, the lawyers are talking about the right, others are talking about.
Apologies there. I think we've lost Dr. Christopher Ampedu, and we apologize for the poor output of sound in that phone conversation. But I'll come back to Daddy. I'll come back to Raz as well. So, why did you decide to go to court? Understanding the society that you live in. The average Ghanaian is not perceived to be such a litigant. Everything, I'll take it to court. We'll just let it pass. We'll just let it slide. So why the different approach? Why are you different?
Well, I have always been a social and political activist at a young age from Jamaica. I've been involved in a lot of advocacy. Even when the issue of South Africa was going on there, we were integrally involved in those struggles. So it's a natural process for me in terms of engaging in these things. I've done a lot of advocacy here, the Palestinian issue, the water privatization issue, the GMO issue. We were an integral part of the GMO issue, which is still in court after 5 years now. So it wasn't anything strange for me to do it. And since it came to me personally in terms of affecting my family, it was only fitting that I rise to the occasion.
Very interesting. Let me come back to Benjamin. Benjamin, The question I want to ask you, do you want to quickly touch on the opening the floodgates bit?
Yes.
Which Ras made the point before, because I think you wanted to respond to that. So quickly touch on that.
And that is what is taking the shine of the victory that has been given to our brother. You see, the fear is that anybody at all can claim to profess a certain religion or belief and then seek to assert the right. And that is where guidance is needed. Council responded to the example of the Wolomo's son wearing, a certain kind of clothing. And that will be a difficult one because the court is clear in this matter that if it's for religious purpose, then it must be allowed. Then you need a very compelling reason by which it can be sidestepped. And that is where the danger is.
So it's a legitimate danger?
Yes, it is. It is a legitimate danger because now for religion, you don't have registration for it. I just have to come out and say that I am a member of this sect, and that is sufficient. And that is where you have to deal with how do you manage schools, allowing for orderly training of children, keeping the uniformity thing. Okay. But as has been said, this is a special case. But those cases that are not special, how would we know? You see, that is the real
And how many
danger.
special cases can we have?
Exactly. And for rule of law, you want certainty. You don't want people to have doubts as to the kind of action they should take. And you don't want to also say that for every instance, the person must go to court. We need direction.
Okay.
And I think that is a real issue to express.
Very well. I want to reconnect with Kweku Entry-Boesiako. If we have him on the line, his line dropped at some point. Okay, I don't think we've been able to establish that connection yet. But I'll stay Kweku, Benjamin, I'll stay with you on this. Let's talk about, you've made the point, Lawyer Wayo also made the point, Ras Mubarak has also made the point. Let's talk about the matter of democracy. This is an important constitutional case. Yeah. What does it mean for our democracy?
It means good for our democracy, and it brings a lot of relief and satisfaction that going forward, our courts are ready to rise to the occasion whenever is required. And I earlier commended the lady Justice for the expeditious manner in which this case was handled.
Okay.
And then even the cooperation from Nachimota School, and then the victory that has to come to the parents. And you see the whole story has ended very well, and Ghana has been victorious.
For now?
Yeah, for now. Going forward, we only will have clarity and not to impact or impair the vested rights of the child.
That's cast in stone.
That is cast, and to me, nobody will rise to say that for this special recognition, we want to vary that. But we need clarity in respect of other matters that can come into the fray. So for our democracy, this is good. And for ordinary citizens to assert their rights, because governments or executive power is so strong as compared to that of individuals. So when you have the judiciary, rising to correct this, whether it be right or wrong, the fact is that the court has spoken, and it's good for our democracy.
Okay.
And we expect that other areas of discrimination, abuses, the court should respond in that quick manner, because you have cases where journalists are being mishandled. You have cases of arrest, detentions that are not really brought to finality. All those matters should be tested, and then conclusions should be brought on those areas, so that our democracy will be well enhanced.
Okay, quickly, Mana, I want to ask you this question. For you, are you concerned, and speaking on behalf of your family, are you concerned about the possibility of an appeal? Does it worry you? And also with the explanation that Benjamin has given.
No, I'm not worried at all, because I was in the court and I was following the proceedings. I was following what the judge, the lady judge, was saying, and all she was insisting on was the child's right to education. And so by that, I feel that even if it goes to the appeals court, it will still have the same ruling.
Very well. Thankfully, we've been joined by the Magai family. What I want us to do is we'll take a break. When we come back, I'll introduce them. They look very good with smiles. You're welcome, Magai family, but I don't want my audience to see you yet, so hold on. Let's go for a break. When we come back, we'll bring on board the Magai family. This is Inside Pages with me, Francisca Kakra-Forson.
Do not drop the awareness, the fight is still on. Constant disinfection is still very pivotal in the fight against COVID-19. Call an expert today on 020-300-4055 or 050-126-5426 to ensure your space is disinfected.
Lawful wedded wife to having to hold from this day forward? I do.
I knew it.
How much drama can you enjoy? See it feely with HD Plus. Get the best companion for your HD TV with HD Plus. Dial *879# to activate and enjoy the first 2 months for free.
In Ghana and in Africa, there is only one place to look to get that luxurious design and decor for your offices and homes. Visit Jamila Home. We give you the climax of luxury wherever you find yourself. Presidential and executive office furniture, living room sets, dining set, stunning mirrors, adorable wallpapers, lovely king and queen size beds, valuable antiques and antique goods, beautiful chandeliers and more. Into the bargain, we provide caring customer service, prompt delivery service, skilled and artistic full house design and decor services, and free decor ideas for your space. Our products and service is unparalleled, boasting of top-tier clients all over the globe. Jamila Home, home of first-class quality furniture, beautiful chandeliers, and antiques.
Now in Ghana, on Metro TV.
When you grow up, are you going to have a family?
Yes.
And are you going to have children?
Yes.
How many children will you have?
20.
Showing every Sunday evening. Prime time, 5 to 5:30 p.m. with a catch-up on Wednesdays, 4 to 4:30 p.m.
Kids always say what they wanna.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.
Inside Pages, and we have the Magai family in studio with us. Terrio Magai, father of Tyrone Magai, who has just been admitted finally to Achimota School. Good morning to you. And I'll start with Tyrone. How are you? How do you feel?
I'm feeling great and excited.
Great. And Daddy, how about you?
I'm cool. I'm good.
Finally, he gets his admission.
Yes.
Yes. It's been a long fight.
Absolutely.
But here we are. Well, 2 months or so, but here we are. Did you expect this?
Yeah.
How so?
Well, when everything started in the court, we were following, as Mana just said. And when I just looked at the argument, I knew it should go our way, because in the Constitution, you cannot discriminate somebody against, with his religion. So we knew it has to be, it has to come our way, you know.
I was just speaking with the Nkrabeers as well, talking about being a Rasta family in Ghana. Share your experience for you as well. I'm sure there will be the ups and the downs, sometimes more downs than ups, but what's the experience like?
Well, I think people don't have much education on Rastafari, because when you even see some people who are really, like, I would say, well educated, who are naturally supposed to know what it takes or what it means to be a Rasta man, we still stand at some corner and just be criticizing and saying things that are unpleasant, you know. So it's really been very hard that the people don't understand Rasta yet. Just a few really understand.
Do you think we'll get there?
Yeah, but how long it's going to take will be the problem, you know, because some, especially market women and some people, I don't know if I should call them the small people, you know, or maybe the clueless, you know. They just discriminate and think, oh, he's a Rasta man, just forget him. And sometimes somebody will even look at you. I remember one time I was buying a credit, you know, when I first came from Germany. I asked to buy, I wanted to buy a phone, this unit. And then when the woman called the price, I thought, is that what you mean? I mean, how much is this? Because for me, that time we're using this 2000 and things, you know.
The old currency.
The old currency. And somebody on the side, you know, one other woman said to the vendor, oh, forget this Jamaican people, they are mad. And then I said to her, but why are you saying that in Chi, you know? And they said, oh, me brah, sorry, you know, things like that, you know. Or you go on a trotro and there is a space beside you, but nobody wants to sit beside you, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I shared that story one time here, where I heard, wasn't my sister who told me that a lady was in a trotro, and when she got in, she saw two Rasta men. She said, no, she's getting out.
Yeah.
It's the discrimination is unfortunate, and hopefully this case will be a major stepping stone.
Yes.
But let me go back to Tyrone. Tyrone, you've made history. How old are you? You've made history. How do you feel?
I feel excited and satisfied after the long run, because considering the nature of the case, I mean, I wouldn't know how to understand it if it was really true that I can't be educated solely because I have dreadlocks. So I feel really excited.
And how, you've been back in school, yesterday?
Yes,
yesterday
please.
You returned to school. How was school like?
Okay, when I first entered class, there was an exams ongoing. So I joined them and wrote it. And then I think after an hour, there was another exam paper, end of term, and thereafter it was closed.
What papers were they?
Okay, elective ICT and social studies.
Were they difficult?
Okay, not to me, I would say.
Not for you, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, but having waited all this while to come and write exam, didn't that bother you a bit?
Well, it did, but I mean, I felt it shouldn't be that difficult, because it's still SHS and yet still they are my colleagues, even though it's my first time. So I just had to calm down and try to understand everything correctly.
Okay. Now I want to talk to you about living in Ghana as a young man or a student, a teenager wearing dreadlocks. At what point did mommy and daddy speak to you? That's one. And at what point did you start noticing that people were looking at you differently?
Okay, earlier I could understand that having dreadlocks would make you look different from everyone else, because not everyone has it. And I could also understand that the moment you are dreadlocks, you should be ready for anything. Because if I'm listening to old stories from experienced people, they are talking of potential discrimination and all other forms of unpleasant experiences. So those were some of the things I knew growing up with dreadlocks I would feel. But then looking with my dad and everything, I mean, it's my dad, so I thought like maybe just being a Rasta after all, I should be able to cope on well since he is also coping on well.
How much of an influence has your dad and your mom, have they been in, helping you keep your psyche with your identity and the society you exist in?
Okay, my parents, I would say entirely, because right from the start, I know if I were alone or I was always on my own, I wouldn't have made it through. Because considering the harsh comments from the earlier times, and then the thought of having to stay home in your first year, I believe it would have crushed me in some form. But my parents constantly advising and talking about that it's going to be all well, very well, and with other people also saying it's going to be very well. I think that one kept me true.
Tell me about the worst encounter you've had because of your hair identity.
Okay.
Would it be this one?
I think so. Yeah, I think so, because I wasn't expecting anything like this back before the whole Achimota case. I mean, back at where I was at Omega, I was entirely one of them. Only I had dreadlocks, but no one really distinguished me that this guy is dreadlocks, so it's totally different from us. I was a part of them in every single activity. So I would say the Achimota case may be one of the worst things that happened to me. Yeah.
It's unfortunately, I wouldn't call it unfortunately, but for good reason, Oheneba and Krabia couldn't join us. But I've watched the both of you. I've followed the both of you. You made a passionate appeal at some point during all of this. I think he also did. And the reaction from many people is how brilliant the both of you are, how eloquent the both of you, and the questions I'm asking you and the way you are responding are evidence to that. At 17 years, this is what you're doing. You're out there in the world, and people are getting to know and feel your brilliance. What kind of Tyrone are we going to see in the next 5-10 years? I'm excited to know who you'll become and what you'll do.
Okay, in the next 5-10 years, I'll still live up to my plans as an individual, to live a life and to create this sense of personality that everyone can benefit from. Because considering everything, if I decide to do something that's going to help me alone, it's somewhat going to be of selfish interest. Because there are problems, and there will always be problems in this nation and in the whole world as a whole. So as a person, I think in the next 5-10 years, I will definitely try my possible best to live a life that everyone can benefit from, including the nation and the whole world as a whole.
I'm watching you right now, and I'm feeling very sentimental. I don't know why though, because I don't know, but I'm feeling very emotional about this moment right now. I feel very happy for the both of you and for the both families. Anyway, viewers, forgive me. I'm having a moment here myself, watching him. He's young and he's I don't know. Well, congratulations to you and Oheneba as well, and to both families.
Thank you.
I want to now go to the case in court. I'll come to you, Daddy Magai, the case in court. What was different about your case was one of the reliefs. You were seeking for compensation for the time that would have gone to waste, or the time that went to waste, and also maybe certain injuries that would have come your way, emotional, psychological, etc. The court didn't grant that. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when I heard that they were also going to sue for compensation, I told my lawyer, we don't want that, because it was going to look like, or it will be like we're also trying to make money out of this, making a trade out of it. So I told him, no, I don't want it, And everybody didn't want it. Tyrone, his mother, everybody went like, but why compensation? But then he said, it's part of the whole judiciary system. Because we've been hurt, we lost things, roaming about with taxes, going up and down, seeking advice. So it's normal. Then I also spoke to other people, and they said, oh, it's normal. Even some people already were telling me, hey, you will be compensated. and stuff, you know. Yeah.
Okay, Ras Aswad, I'll come to you. You didn't have that as part of your reliefs. What's the decision? Why?
You know, just I was more concerned about the rights and the overall political issue, the implication of this advocacy.
Okay.
You know, as a political advocate, my focus was more on that. But I still think that there should have been some compensation because we have spent a lot of funds. We have, I mean, it's enormous in terms of what we have done. I mean, you look at all the other cases in the U.S. elsewhere, those children, they are compensated properly for the damages and so on, and help them to even further their education. So even from an educational standpoint, I think some expenses should have come out for a scholarship or something out of this so that we do not suffer the loss that we are suffering right now as a result of engaging in this battle, which we didn't cause on ourselves, right? It was forced on us. So it is in the right spirit, I think, for some level of compensation, for at least educational compensation for the next couple of years so that we can overcome some of those expenses ahead, you know, and plus based on what we have put out. So it's in the right spirit to do that.
Benjamin, you're the lawyer. Given that, you know, they had expended some monies, the boys had been out of school for some time, there was the whole psycho-emotional effect and all of that, and the judge rules and doesn't grant that. Is that fair?
Yes. Let me say that there are two aspects to what you put together as compensation. We have cost of the litigation itself that can be awarded in favor of the winning party. Okay, so cost of legal fees and other incidental costs that will be handled on that aspect. But if you're speaking strictly about compensation, then you mean, let's say, the psychological injury suffered, and the kind of where I agree with Daddy is maybe the extra tuition that you have to incur by, you know, training your child to fit or to come at par with their colleagues. But I think that it's discretionary, so it's for the court to weigh. If you look at the time that was spent in court, it wasn't long. It was, I think, one of the fastest trial. And then also you want to see the overriding interest, you know, the joy of having the children getting into the school. I think the judge weighed that one beyond any other factor. But of course, it's entirely a judicial discretion, and further some, you know, due recognition can be given to that. But I think that the fact of the ruling that they should go to school is more than anything. And it's experience that, as Daddy said, is the victory and is the impact.
Okay.
That is where
I'll take, I think we have about 2 minutes, 3 minutes before we wrap up, but I'll take a quick message and then I'll give Tyrone the final word on this show. This person sent this message. He says, is it Ni in Accra? He says, as much as I am happy the children's right to education has been enforced, I believe we need clarity and direction from the courts as to how to deal with the potential floodgates relating to religious freedom vis-a-vis education. We cannot ask everyone to go to court to enforce their rights. Thank you for your message. This person says, they are not greedy people, like many love them after all. Rastafarians are African. Big up, brethren. This person says, please, Madam Host, tell your guests to speak the Jamaican patois English. That is what kills me the most. Rastafarians are righteous. Okay, so that's from Gilbert in Yendi. So over to you, Tyrone. You're going to close the show, so maybe put your lyrical abilities there and let's see how that goes. But guys, thank you so much. Mommy and Daddy over there, Benjamin, thank you so much. And Tyrone, thank you so much for coming. Over to you.
So my last words, I'm very grateful to everyone for
in
everything.
Patois? No? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so give us your last words, Tyrone.
Okay, so I'm very grateful to everyone for all the help that they give, because in real sense, they don't know us from anywhere. I mean, they got to know us from here, but still, they threw in their support and their maximum encouragement from everywhere. I'm grateful to the lawyers, to the judge, especially to our lawyers and all our team of supporters, as well as the journalists and everyone out there. I'm very grateful. And also Achimota School for finally accepting everything.
Great. I did say you were going to close the show, but let me take this quickly from one of our guests that we lost on Zoom. He says the Attorney General told the media house the basis for an appeal will be Article 41E, which lawyer Antiedu seems to downplay. Okay. Okay, Ras Mubarak also sent this. I believe all religions of the world are about love. Rasta is about love. Kwame Kakraba from Dantoman says, we are watching your program, and what some groups of society want to know is he implying that any religious values can be accepted in our institutions? If so, then Trokosi ladies who dress... We get the point, but I think... Exactly. The lawyer has spoken to that. I'm very grateful to all my guests. I cannot mention everybody. Ras Mubarak via Zoom, all my studio guests, parents of the two heroes of our time, Tyrone and Inkrabia Ohineba. We're grateful to you, lawyer. We're grateful to you for watching at home. Thanks again, and join us next Saturday for another exciting edition on Inside Pages. I'm Francisca Kakra-Forsen. Bye-bye.